Oh, you can definitely feel it here. I might actually run the Eva now. This thing does not slap nearly as hard. No, the Mastiff is not in a good state anymore, chat. Look like Season 5 Eva. Yeah, right? Like, it does not feel good anymore. Actually insane from that Horizon.
The Mastiff shotgun. It was once a powerhouse in Apex Legends. It was gold tier, and yes, it was it did really high damage, and it was very flexible. Back in the early days of Apex Legends, the Mastiff did an extreme amount of damage for a decent fire rate. You know, about the fire rate of a longbow or a triple take even. Yeah, the Mastiff fired as fast as a triple take today and a longbow today. With it, of course, being a shotgun, meaning that it could do that. At the time, the Mastiff could do insanely high damage, and it could deal damage very easily because of its spread. It's straightforward line spread, which made it pretty easy to use. So today in this video, we're gonna be talking about how the Mastiff shotgun became a top tier gun in Apex Legends, like a really top tier gun, to how it just sort of fell off and became just a sole afterthought, and did mediocre damage and really just wasn't that great anymore. We're gonna be discussing how it went from good to bad, basically. Hey guys, it's Randomizer, Gamer News, or Crazy Cuber here, and today we're gonna be talking about the rise and fall of the Mastiff shotgun. The Mastiff was first introduced into Apex when it first came out, which was February 4th, 2019. So this new game came out, which was a battle royale game named Apex Legends, which as I just said came out February 4th, 2019. And with this new battle royale, obviously there came a lot of stuff. There were six free characters that you could use in the game, like that you could use in Apex Legends. Two of them you had to purchase those characters. You had to purchase those characters to unlock them for free, and with it obviously came weapons, guns. There was a whole array of guns. There was a good variety of guns when Apex Legends first released. There were 20 weapons when Apex Legends first launched, and the Mastiff was one of them. The Mastiff shotgun was one of those guns. When it was first introduced into the game, it can only be found in things like this, which you're seeing on the screen right now, obviously, which is the care package. And the damage on this gun back then was insane. You see, the Mastiff had unlike any other shotgun you've really seen in a video game, but before this one, before Apex Legends, the Mastiff shotgun is what you call, like, the spread on it. The spread on it on this shotgun is what you would call like a duck bill. Like, imagine a duck bill. It was like a duck bill spread. The shotgun had this shotgun had 8 pellets in total, and the damage on them was pretty high. This is what the duckbill-like spread on the Mastiff looks like, by the way. And here's what the original damage on the Mastiff looked like. And yes, as you probably just saw, the Mastiff shotgun. By the way, it was the only shotgun it was the only shotgun ever in Apex at the time to have a 2 times headshot multiplier, meaning the maximum amount of damage you could get on this thing was 288 to the head. And let's not forget too that probably in season 2 of Apex Legends that they added the low profile perk, which by the way is a perk that goes on Legends only. It's just it. So if y'all don't know what the low profile perk is, it's basically a perk that goes on Legends. And if they have this perk, they take 5% more damage from everything. From like bullets to I think storm damage to like just any other kind of like So from any projectile damage, this perk, basically what it does, you take 5% more damage than you usually do if your legend is equipped with this perk. You take 5% more damage with this perk than just with a normal legend without the low profile perk. And well, here's what 5% more did to the Mastiff's damage. Yeah, yes, it increased it by a lot, basically. So that was the real highest amount of damage you could do on the Mastiff at that time. 304 for a headshot. So basically if you hit, so the low profile legends at the time were, back in season 2, we had Watson, Wraith, Pathfinder, and Lifeline had this perk on them, meaning that if you hit one of those legends with a Mastiff shot to the head, all of those legends would have had 304 damage dealt to them if you hit him in the head with the Mastiff. Yeah, the damage was extreme. The damage was scary. However, the only notable flaw really with the Mastiff at that time was the fact that it only had a magazine size of 4 bullets, and the ammo reserve, you only got 20 extra ammo with it. However, with its extremely high damage and decently fast fire rate for a shotgun, these flaws, they could be extremely overlooked. The Mastiff shotgun also had another feature to it.
And you just spam the two. You spam the inspect key and left click.
Exactly how he just said it. If you spammed those 2 keys on your keyboard while using the Mastiff, then the Mastiff could rapid fire. This feature was pretty good because let's say in a scenario where you're kind of just, kind of not really hitting that many shots with this thing, you can do the rapid fire glitch and pretty much come on top with this thing. Just go back and read that text if you already didn't. Overall, at this point in Apex Legends, the Mastiff seemed to have really cool features about it, and overall, it seemed like a pretty customizable gun to use at the time. I mean, back then in Apex Legends, the whole shotgun meta was unique. Back then in Apex Legends, but the Mastiff just stood on top of the ground like a titan, a king titan. It's just overall, it's high damage, it's one-shot potential, it's great, the great skill it took to use, despite it being a care package weapon, and it could have some newbie parts about it, but hey, that was a care package weapon. It was rewarding. It was supposed to be rewarding to get, and it was rewarding to get. Getting your hands on this thing means that you could pretty much clutch up any scenario that you get yourself in terms of gunfight wise. So overall, yes, the Mastiff just seemed like the Mastiff and the shotgun meta as a whole back then seemed pretty much picture perfect. However, towards the beginning of season 4, the good times were slowly coming to an end. Because at the beginning of season 4, the rapid fire glitch for the Mastiff was completely removed entirely. Patch 4.0 and after, you can no longer perform the Mastiff rapid fire glitch on that shotgun. And while this wasn't necessarily a bad thing at the time, it was unfortunately foreshadowing for what changes would come to the Mastiff in the future. And it would just spark a steady decline in the Mastiff's usage rate, usability, and overall performance. The gun now just felt significantly slower and more clunky to use, and it just felt slower to use. It just felt slower to use, and it no longer had that angelic spark, and it was just getting worse. Things were starting to crumble. And that change, it wasn't horrible, but however, it was to showcase what changes would be coming to the Mastiff in the future, and that they would pretty much be nerfs for the Mastiff. Just nerfs and nerfs and nerfs. And that was unfortunately the first one for the gun. However, it wasn't until the start of Season 5 where not only the shotgun meta would change completely forever, but also the Mastiff would shift its character from being this really high-tier broken gun to, completely doing a 180 out of nowhere and go downhill. Wah, 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 wah. You see, by this time, the Mastiff was rotated, or it was taken out of care packages. So the Mastiff the Mastiff at this point was extremely nerfed. The gun was extremely neutered hard. This thing, after this patch, after patch 5.0, it no longer could hit like it used to back in seasons 4, 3, 2, and 1. And don't forget season 0 as well. So for 4.5 seasons, this gun was great, top dog, and now it's probably just an average starter gun, just a standard average gun that was floor. And by the way, this gun could no longer be found. It could no longer be found in care packages. It was now basically just ground loot. So basically, there's three different types of rarities for guns in Apex Legends. There's common, which is basically there's common guns, which is basically guns that can be found as ground loot on the floor in a map, for example, at a POI on a map in Apex Legends. There's guns scattered around that are not really that don't have any attachments on them. You have to put attachments on them yourself, and then it goes all the way up to care package, which is basically supply drop guns that come out of the sky. There's supply drops that fall down, and when you open them, there is a chance that it will give you a gun, usually pretty powerful. And the Mastiff was now just basically scattered ground loot. It was basically just your standard ground loot weapon, and it was basically a ground loot weapon now. It can only be found in bins, which could be found all over the Apex Legends map, and also it could also be found as floor loot as well. And oh no, don't forget about the nerfs that this thing has gotten. One of the biggest things that fell off with the Mastiff almost immediately was its damage. Now the damage of this gun. So when you could find it in care packages, the damage used to be, as I said before, absolutely insane. 300 to the head, 150 to the body. That was great, right? Well, the Mastiff's damage was reduced So now it can only do like a low 100 damage, and the headshot multiplier to make things even better was reduced a lot. So the headshot multiplier on the Mastiff used to be a 2 times headshot multiplier. Now it was a 1.2. It was a 1.25 times headshot multiplier, meaning that the Mastiff could just barely so the Mastiff now went from doing over 300 to the head potentially to now doing just barely over 125 to the head. Yeah, that is a significant drop in damage. And additionally, remember that obviously we know that the fire rate glitch was gone. So additionally, to make matters worse, the Mastiff's fire rate was reduced by a lot. It used to fire around as fast as like a semi-auto sniper, so it was pretty fast at first. Now it can only fire a measly 1 bullets per second. So now not only the fire rate was low, the damage was extremely low, and they also reduced the projectiles. So the projectiles on the Mastiff were no longer as strong. So that's pretty much another thing that made the Mastiff absolutely magical. Was the projectiles were just so good on this thing, and it was overall just a beast. It was a powerhouse. Like the over 200 damage headshots and the over 200 damage headshots and the decently fast fire rate made it great. And obviously the way the bullets traveled also made a significant difference as well. But overall, the massive nerfs were just honestly, it really rose this gun down a lot in terms of usage. And soon enough, people began using it less. And and then a worthless starter shotgun, the Peacekeeper, which I could potentially talk about in another video. But anyways, let's move on back to here. The Peacekeeper, which was literally just a common floor loot shotgun, was now in the care package, and the Mastiff just transitioning out of the care package. So now it was now floor loot when it was really supposed to be. It really was meant to be a care package weapon, a care package gun. Overall, shotguns did not make sense by this time. Shotguns just really didn't. Shotguns lost their magic, their spark that made them great. And the Mastiff, it was okay, man. Like, it honestly could have been better. The nerfs were very extreme, or even better, they shouldn't have nerfed it at all. They should have just, they shouldn't have removed it from the care package to begin with. That's when things really started to go downhill from here. But obviously it gets even worse from here. So now let's move on to Season 6 of Apex Legends. The Mastiff doesn't get any new changes added to it, and overall, really nothing helps. Nothing gets any better from here overall. On top of all that, sadly, things just get worse for shotguns in general. So a pretty popular gun. This is a really popular gun actually. The R99 gets put into the care package, and because a lot of people love to use the R99, and they found out those it was put into the care package, but people just ended up looking for it like towards the late game. So care packages were flooded at this point. And now that more care packages were being consumed during this time, they became a rarity pretty much. And because they were so rare, because they are very hard to find, that means that the other care package guns were hard to find. Specifically the Kraber and the Peacekeeper, most importantly, because that was the only shotgun in the game that can do higher damage than the Mastiff. So at this point, pretty much all throughout season 6, the Mastiff was pretty much like the highest damage shotgun at one point. That was the most common. So now at this point, the max amount a shotgun can do at this point now is around 130 damage. They shoot pretty mediocre like, and overall they're not really that fun to use anymore. So yeah, the shotgun meta was getting a lot worse.
And the headshots were 128. Okay, so before the update, as you can see right here, you could easily like double tap people, two shots and they're gone, even if they have 200 HP, and headshot would do 128 if you manage to hit all 8 pellets. Okay, so this is now the Mastiff after the update, after the nerf. So here we go. 11, it does 11 now instead of 13. And if we hit 3, it does 33, 2 would do 22, and then here we got 6. So it's easy to calculate now how many shots, how many pellets you got. And yeah, if you do more, it'll do 77, 88, you know, but that's the max. So here we go. 8 pellets on the body does 88 now instead of 104. So yeah, so basically what this means is that you can no longer double tap people. See, it does 88, and they still have like 33 HP left. That is the reason why they changed it. And headshots, well, let's see, headshots to 112. Okay, so you can still double tap people, but you have to like hit a headshot. So what about one headshot and one that? It does exactly 200 damage.
As if things couldn't get any worse for this gun, the damage gets reduced even more. So now since this gun is very frustrating to counter and overall really frustrating and hard to use overall and to counteract against, they have to reduce the damage even more. So now, you know, they're putting themselves all through this big hassle. They have to nerf the Mastiff even more now that it's still on ground loot. Instead of just overall, what they should have done in the first place is kept the Peacekeeper as floor loot, adjusted a little bit so it wasn't so powerful, and keep the Mastiff in the care package. It'll make a lot more sense that way. But nope. Respawn here had to make things more difficult and complicated and ruin some weaponry in the process. And sadly, the final nail in the coffin for the Mastiff shotgun was when in Apex Legends Season 9 Legacy, low profile would be completely removed from the game. So now you can no longer get that extra boost of damage when you were using guns against low profile legends that have the low profile perk on them. So now you can no longer deal extra damage with the Mastiff. The maximum amount of damage you could do with the Mastiff now is it's a very low 100 damage. That's the max you could do with the Mastiff. You can't do anything higher than 115 at this point now, which is pretty sad. And while the Mastiff, they have increased the fire rate of the gun to compensate for its low damage, it really is not enough. Once again, it was way better as a care package weapon, and it was overall the Mastiff was a huge fall from grace. As a gun in Apex Legends. It probably had a really big downfall in Apex Legends so far, and it's really sad to see once a beloved gun turn into kind of just an irrelevant pea shooter nowadays, and it's really clunky and hard to use now, and does very little damage, and can be easily counterable. The damage is now negligible on the gun, and based on what Respawn has been doing with care package weapons recently, it is unlikely that they'll ever return the Mastiff back to its former glory, which is pretty sad. But I don't know. Maybe one day they'll listen to this. Maybe one day they'll make the Mastiff. Yeah, they'll put it back in the care package, revert all the bad changes that they've made to it over these past couple seasons, and maybe it will rise up again, back to its former glory, back to its old and insane damage. But for now, the old care package Mastiff is just only a memory in our hearts. But anyways, hopefully y'all enjoyed this video. I'm glad to be making stuff like this again, rather than just random ass content that I usually make. I'm glad to make something more in depth. I'm overall glad to be back making videos like this again. But anyways, like and sub if you enjoyed this really long video of mine, and to show me support. See you in the next one. Goodbye.